Hello and welcome to Ecoholics. Today we are going to understand a very important concept related to logical reasoning, the logical syllogism. There are a variety of statements, arguments that are usually represented in logical reasoning, which often arrive in various competitive examinations such as UGC NET and a variety of banking examinations also. So today we are going to understand one example and try to understand how through syllogism, through Venn diagrams and through rules of syllogism, we are going to find out a proper conclusion or a valid conclusion to two arguments, right? So let's understand it with the help of this one example. The three set of statements that we have are arguments 1, 2 and conclusion. You all must understand whenever you get such statements in your question, firstly, do not look at the answer. First, make a Venn diagram for the arguments. Make your own conclusion with the help of the rules that you have remembered of the syllogism and then find out whether the conclusion which has been given is valid or not, right? So let's work out the two arguments first. Over here we have all artists are egoists. Now, just mark these terms as A, B, C for your convenience. That way, you will be able to solve the question even easier. So, artists, let's say, is A. Egoists, let's say, is B. Alright. Then we have argument number 2. Some artists are paupers. Okay. Now, artists again would be A, while paupers over here will be C because it's a different predicate. Always remember the rule of a sentence that whenever it starts, it would start in a logical reasoning type of sentences. It would start with a quantifier where you will understand the quantity of a subject, the subject, and what the subject is talking about will be the predicate, right? Now you have the first argument. What will be the conclusion from the first argument? Let's see this. So you have all A are B. When you have all A are B, such a statement, so the Venn diagram will be something like this. All A are B, correct? Now, the conclusion of this statement, there can be two conclusions of this statement. So, for all the statements which are in the form of all A are B, they would be concluded as some A are B and some B are A. Okay, always remember that whenever a question, a statement, an argument is in the form of all A are B, then the quantifier is universal positive, and which is why the conclusion will be positive, affirmative, but in a particular way. So particular affirmative will be the conclusions. Okay, and here we have particular affirmative to conclusions from the first statement. So simply what you can conclude over here is that some artists are egoists and some egoists are artists. Okay, I've just written in shorthand so that you just understand the conclusion of the first statement. Now let's move over to the second statement. Okay, so I'll erase this and then let's move over to the second statement and how the second statement will be shown. Now, when we talk about the second statement, some artists are egoists, it's a particular affirmative statement, which means the quantifier over here is some. Okay, however, it's an affirmative statement. Okay, it's a positive statement. So now how will you draw the Venn diagram for some artists or A are C, some A are C. if you have such an argument, so what you can do is you can draw so this is A and some A are C. This is how you will draw the Venn diagram. So basically the shaded portion will be that portion of A which is C, right? So we can conclude that some A are C. Now for the conclusion, if this is the argument, then what will be the conclusion for this argument? There can only be one conclusion for this argument, the transpose or the reverse, okay? So only in an affirmative way, of course. So you can say that if some A R C is true, then some C R A will be true. Okay. Now we have three conclusions with us. Okay. What are the three conclusions that we have with us? So we have the three conclusions. I'll just keep writing this, and the very first two conclusions were, this is the third conclusion. The first two conclusions were some A are B, some B are A, and then the third conclusion is some C are A. So in total of these two arguments that we have, we can only have, or we can only derive these three conclusions logically. However, we also have a conclusion which is already given. Now let's find out whether that conclusion matches our conclusions or not. So let's read. Therefore, some poppers was C, right? Some C are B. Some C are B will not be found in a valid way anywhere after the two arguments were derived to find a conclusion. So this conclusion has a fallacy. What is the type of the fallacy? We will come to know in our future videos. But to understand why there's a fallacy, we are thinking about a certain logic that is there between these two arguments, and which is why we are thinking that okay, fine, probably logically there is a relation between B and C also. However, by the rules of syllogism, when we found out and solved for argument 1 and 2, we found out that actually the logical conclusions are only 3, wherein we do not find any referent relation between B and C. So which is why this conclusion over here is completely invalid. Now, whenever you solve questions related to logical reasoning, such type of arguments, Venn diagram questions, syllogism, always remember that keep in mind the arguments first, make the Venn diagrams second, and third, only after finding your own derivation of the conclusion, then match the conclusion or the statements which are correct, incorrect, or the answers to the solution later. However, many of the students, to have an ease of it, would try to solve it just by looking at the solutions or the objectives, which is the wrong way of solving this type of questions, because there might be a lot of confusion which may be created, right? So I hope that it's clear how to solve such type of questions. We'll have more such type of questions, and we will also learn about various types of fallacies, which is a common question in various examinations, especially UGC NET paper 1. So stay tuned with us and keep watching our videos. Subscribe to our channel Ecoholics. Thank you.